What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Save Point podcast. I am Alex, and boy, is it different to say that opening line. I have to say it a lot slower because I can't say it, but welcome to episode 1. So here we are. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to do in this episode, and this is the start of something hopefully incredibly cool. So I want to go over what this is, what we're going to be doing here, how you guys participate in this, all that stuff. But first things first, this is actually not just on YouTube, but you would know that if you're not even watching it on YouTube. My plan is that this goes up on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. So you can watch or listen in any of those places. And I would just say, kind of a generic way to start this out, just try to support me the best way you can in that place, right? So if it's YouTube, watch as long as you can, subscribe to the channel, obviously all that stuff. If it's Spotify and iTunes, I'll be honest, I don't go on them anyway, so I don't really know how they work. Leave a review, 5 stars. I don't know if they even do that, but just try to support as much as you can. Try to help this thing grow, and we're going to keep doing it. This is a long-term plan. This is something I want to get big over time and grow and expand. And so, it's not going to be a 1 or 2 and done. I'm going to quit because it doesn't succeed. No, we're in it for the long run. So this is going to be a show that airs every single Saturday, at least hopefully every single Saturday. That may move depending on the week, but for the most part, that's going to be the goal. If it doesn't happen on the Saturday, I would try to do it on like the Friday or Sunday. So some point at the end of the week is pretty much what I want to do with this show. And this show is going to be a mix of me talking about topics, questions, just my general, what I'm doing gaming-wise, that kind of stuff. Now, let's go right into how this relates to you guys. I think it's something you guys should know kind of right off the jump, and then we can keep going. So basically, this show, again, I want to make it a blend, but here's how we're going to do it, okay? You can feel free to suggest topics, and these can be gaming-related topics, and I mean like anything. So if it's a new game, like for this episode, I'm going to do the main topic. I'm going to talk about Deathloop. I want to review Deathloop. But, if it's a new game, maybe it can be me talking about that game. Maybe if it was a big story of the week, I can talk about that story. Maybe if it's gaming journalists, or, I don't know, should games have different difficulties, or like should games have easy modes? Literally what's my favorite controller, anything you guys can come up with topic-wise, you can always feel free to send it to me, and you should always know that I will look at it and I will always consider it, okay? That stuff is always true. Same thing with questions or comments. I do want to read those things in the show. Again, know that no matter what happens, right, I will be reading it at least in my own, in my own head, okay? But here's the deal. This show is also very much created with people who support us financially in mind. I really want to give back to those people, and I also want to kind of give you guys incentives if you haven't supported us to support us. So here's the deal. We have 2 different tiers on our channel. We have a YouTube membership firstly, and we have Patreon. So we have 2 different ways you guys can support not just the show, but also the channel, okay? $2 tier, $5 tier, Patreon, YouTube memberships. If you're one of the 2, you'll have the chance to vote on the topics of the week. So what I'm planning on doing, here's, again, very transparent, I'm going to take any topic or main thing that I'm thinking of or that I see from anybody, regardless if you pay us or if you don't, okay? Those topics will come in. I will consider them, and I will also leave it up to vote. If you're a $2 or $5 tier, you'll have the chance to vote on the topic. Winning topic gets the, for sure say on the show, and I'll discuss it. Again, I may pick maybe a second topic or something on my own as well, but you'll always have that say. In terms of reading things out loud, reading questions, reading comments, engaging, the plan, at least to start, is to just do it with anybody. Okay, if you leave a comment, you leave a question, I will do my best to answer them and respond as part of the show going forward. However, once it starts to get, and hopefully it does, right? Once it starts to build up, become a bigger show, all that stuff, the plan is the members, the Patreon or the patrons, the members just in general, they are going to take top priority. So $5 tiers, you'll always have your questions or comments read. $2, you'll most likely have them read. And the only reason I say most likely is if there's like a huge influx of people that support us, right? It may be harder to read. But you have a guarantee at the $5 tier, and you'll have a mostly guarantee at the $2 tier, and then everybody else would come after that. Okay, I think that's fair. I think that makes it, I would say, fair for everybody, right? Because everybody gets their say or gets to say something, and then what happens with it kind of depends on your status. But I'm always reading, I'm always taking it all in. I really want to make that apparent. You know what I mean? I don't want to force you guys to give us money. Obviously, it's helpful. Obviously, I would like it, and you're going to get rewarded for doing that. You're going to get things back to you on top of what we already do. But I want to make this a show for everybody. Okay, so that's the plan. Again, you can support us on Patreon, or you can support us YouTube memberships, right, by hitting the join button. The link for Patreon is in the description of all my YouTube videos. So if you're watching on Spotify or iTunes, and then the YouTube join button, you have to go to YouTube. Right next to the subscribe button is the join button. Okay, so that's the plan. Now, again, for this episode 1, there is no comments, there is no questions. There is a centralized topic though, and it's Deathloop, and that's pretty much, I would say, the entire intro to it. But that's kind of what I want to do for this show. I would say, if you're thinking, okay, how is it necessarily going to be structured going forward, I would say like an introduction, talking about maybe what I'm playing, or some things that interested me in the week, like news-wise, right? And then getting into the main topic, which again will either be voted on by you, and then maybe there'll be a second topic from me, something like that, and then we'll go into kind of questions and comments. And this show has room to expand, has room to grow. I could do interviews, I could bring people in, whatever you guys want to see. Definitely let me know anywhere you want. Twitter, email, YouTube comments. Let me know what you want to see from the show, because it really is designed with you in mind. Okay, so let's get into the main topic, which is the Deathloop review. This is a tough one. I don't want to upset people, and I don't actually think I will, because I think anybody that makes it this far into any video or any podcast is not going to get offended by. Hopefully, it is just an opinion, so hopefully you guys don't get offended by an opinion. I don't really like the game. I said it on Twitter. I don't hate the game, but I also don't love the game. It's kind, and I would even say, I don't even know. I don't even want to say like I like it. So I would maybe put it below like, but above hate, somewhere in that realm. It's a very flawed game. It is. It absolutely is. It's a game that the combat's really good. I think over time I start to like the combat more and more. It is very different compared to just other games. However, like compared to like Dishonored and other arcane games in general, it's very, very similar. It is very annoying when like you line up a shot or you're fighting and then all of a sudden the enemy will do some sort of like elastic dodge move to the side, and it's like, damn it, stop moving, I'm trying to shoot you. So like that sometimes gets annoying, but that's kind of the way it is. But so the combat is really good. It does remind me a lot in that way of Dishonored, and it really is. It's not Dishonored 3. It is close to what you would imagine a Dishonored game is, but I would say, and I'm not even a fan of those games, I've said it before, I've never connected to those games. This game is so much worse. Let's go over the negatives, and there are a lot. Well, I guess final positives, the characters are really good. Like Colt is really good, well acted. Juliana is very well acted. I like their dynamic quite a bit. So I would say I give major props to them, and even like the writing team behind that. I think that's totally fine. Everything else, though, is a major issue. The whole entire idea of a game like this, specifically a game like this, is freedom. Okay, freedom of choice. And I don't say that to get political. It's literally you have your choices of doing things. Now, there are things you can do in this game, and there's many different side quests, but in reality, they're just kind of investigations into things. The main issue with this game is there's 4 different locations, and there's 4 different kind of sandboxes to play in and explore. But the issue is, ultimately, you need to do things very specifically, okay? I guess not how you handle like a certain encounter, but generally, you need to do, so there's 8 missions throughout the game, and you're going to kind of organically get them. You'll get 8 main missions, and they branch off into like one mission will take like, you have to do like 10 or 12 different things for that mission, and then you'll get the check mark, and then you do it for all 8, and then you move on. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but that's how you do it. You complete all 8 missions in whatever order you want, granted, and then once you're done, you'll get to the end of the game, like the final kind of section of the game. You do that, and the game is over. Okay, that's how the game works. What ultimately that literally breaks everything, because you need to do, and I mean that you need to do specific things. So in this sandbox, different enemies or even the visionaries, which are like the main enemies you have to kill, they will do different things. They'll be in different places at different times of the day. They have like a life and they'll do different stuff, which is cool. And that's very much Dishonored, right? But the thing is, in order to eliminate them the right way, and I say right way as in the game demands that you do it the right order, and you have to kill them in the right location with the right, with other people or maybe not with other. Like, in order to do that, you need to follow an incredibly specific set of quests or missions to do it. I think that just ruins the entire thing. The game was actually marketed, in my opinion, horribly, because it does make it seem like, okay, literally, and granted, the way they marketed it was also not very good. The way they, at least how I assumed, right? When you watch the trailers, when you watch the gameplay, when you watch them talk about it, it literally sounded like, okay, you're dropped in, you have a full day, there are different locations, there are different, villains to kill, and there's different times of the day that people will be doing different stuff. You need to figure out how to kill all 8 of them in the same day, okay? And ultimately, that is what the game is, but again, it gets a lot more specific, because that sounds very open, right? You can kind of do whatever you want. You're like, oh, well, I'll figure it out. I'll kind of just organically figure it out. But the game is like, well, let me hold your hand, but also let me not hold your hand. Somebody made a good point on Twitter when they said, like, it seems very confusing and, like, convoluted and not well explained to you from what this person is seeing. Is that true? The answer is yes. The first couple days, now I've gotten used to it now, but it's so, when you pick a mission, it is actually incredibly difficult to figure out what you're actually supposed to do. The game, weirdly enough, holds your hand to demand that you do specific things in it, but also on the other side of things, doesn't hold your hand and expects you to just figure stuff out. You know what I mean? It's not that hard to figure out once you get used to it. You get the weapons, you have to infuse them to keep them, multiple rounds. Like, there's things that you learn over time. But initially, it is one of the most easily one of the most confusing games I've ever seen. And the missions and how they're given to you and how you track them and then how you know where to go for them is very well hidden, if it's supposed to be hidden, which it really shouldn't be. It's insane. It's insane. Now we talk about Juliana, right? Now I'm not going to say, relation to you, but she's obviously the other character who's hunting you down. So the thing with her is, look, good on paper. It's a good idea. Again, basically the idea here is you're in this map, you're in these worlds, and she will invade your world, okay? She'll come in and she tries to kill you. And she's quite the target. She's actually kind of tough to kill, at least harder than general enemies are, okay? And when you kill her, you do get like major kind of rewards for that. But when she comes in, she locks your way out. So you have somebody hunting you. You can't get out unless you hack the antenna and then walk out. But she's still, if you don't take her out, she's hunting you the entire time, okay? Sounds cool. It actually sounds incredibly cool. And you can do this online, where literally any random person can just kind of invade your map. You can do friends only, so only your party friends can do it. And then you can do it single player, which still doesn't actually stop Juliana from coming. It's just she's AI. Again, cool on paper. But the issue here, and I guess it's kind of what the game is supposed, like it does what the game I think wants it to do, but I think it's a stupid idea, is it ruins everything. Countless times, and I do mean countless, in fact, pretty much every single time, what Juliana will end up doing, whether it's a random person or whether it's an AI, they will come in the worst possible moment. Last night, when I'm recording this, when I was playing it, I was at Alexis's party, which is a huge thing. In fact, many guides tell you it's the hardest part of the game, okay? Because there's like 30, 40 guys here, like guards, and you need to do it stealthily to do it right, but you can, when you're experimenting, you can kind of just go guns blazing. So there I am in his mansion, and there's like 40 people throughout the entire thing. And all of a sudden, Juliana literally attacks me in a hallway because she had invaded, and I was like, well, I don't know where to go to escape her, so I'm just going to try to stay quiet and try to complete the mission and do what I need to do, maybe, advance the quest and then get out. And yet she attacks me in a hallway where she does a lot of damage. She takes a lot of damage. You need to kill her because she's attacking you. You only have so many lives, or you lose the entire, you lose whatever you have that's not infused, okay? And by doing that, she alerted, and I will say she, not me because it's her fault, she alerted the entire party. So now everybody in this party is now looking for me. Well, that actually goes completely against what I was trying to do in the first place. So again, like, I get it. I get, like, it's kind of supposed to happen like that, where it's like, hey, wouldn't it be fun for a game, a mechanic, for you to have limited lives, limited times to do these things, limited opportunities, and wouldn't it be fun that when you're doing these things, you can have some other player who kind of matches you in power level attack you, and if they kill, and maybe just ruin the entire plan you're doing in that current moment. Doesn't that sound fun? The first part kind of sounded okay, but then once you say it out loud, the whole thing, it sounds downright idiotic. It just ruins it's just annoying. And again, you can't actually turn this off. The first couple days, the people that were playing as Juliana were not very good. I easily was killing them. They weren't that much of a nuisance to what I was doing. However, once the days went on, I had Julianas that were like sniping me from like hundreds. I didn't even see where they were shooting me from, and they killed me. And they murdered usually you have 3 lives. They killed me, and I had to restart the day. So they literally ruined my playthrough of that loop. They ruined it. And I couldn't even kill them because I didn't even know where they were. So they were good. Basically, people are getting better as her. And I was like, screw this. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not trying to fight her. I'm trying to do the objective. So I was like, well, I'll try to turn it off. And I turned it to single player. And I thought that would just mean it's just me. Well, turns out, no, the AI was. Now, the AI is a lot stupider than, and in fact, that's actually another problem we'll talk about with the game in a second. The AI is a lot dumber as Juliana than a normal person. So it is easier, but it still will ruin, if you're trying to be stealthy and you're in the middle of something, she will ruin it every single time. It doesn't stop that. It's just you may not die because of her, but you know what? You may not die because of her because she's so stupid, the AI, but you will die because the other 40 guys are now hunting you. Then you'll die because you just can't take them all, right? So it doesn't work. Speaking of AI, I did see people complaining about this. Yeah, the AI is not very good. You can kill people. If people are like, I have to remember this is like a podcast for some. So some people will like be standing almost next to each other. Not necessarily like in line. Maybe one is a little bit like more forward than the other, but they are like, they could hold hands if they reached out their hand. You can kill the one and the other won't notice. The enemies also some of them have like longer paths they'll take in the maps, and some of them will have like no path. They'll be like the most brain dead people humanly possible. And then when you fight them, that's even I want to say it's like easy. Again, like numbers will like you can be outnumbered, and that can be a very, very bad thing. You know what I mean? Because again, like at that party, 40 people, if they line up for you, you could take them all out ideally, but most times, they're a little bit smarter than that, but they're not like incredibly smart. They're not going to flank you. They're not going to do anything that you would expect like a very intelligent enemy to do. They don't really do any of that stuff. And so it's just, I don't know. It feels so open, right? It feels so open and like full of possibilities. But then when you jump in, that's really, in my opinion, the biggest letdown, which is odd because, again, as I've said with Dishonored, I never actually got used to it. And it never like connected to me. I never liked it. And honestly, a big reason, maybe the gameplay was like I don't honestly even remember the reason why I don't connect with Dishonored. However, I think after playing Deathloop, if I now play Dishonored, I think I'd like it because I do like the gameplay, the fast nature of it. I do actually think it works really well. I'm getting used to it. I'm getting good at it. Like I'm nailing headshots. Stealth is like a 50-50. Sometimes I can actually get through a segment that I'm trying to do. Very stealthy, looking for alternative routes. And again, those things are there. If there's like a building, you can kind of go in through the window, and there's ways of doing things a little different. That stuff's cool. But ultimately, again, what I think hurts the game the most is you have that exploration, but when it comes down to it, the specifics are they're as ironclad as you can get. You can't go against them. You need to do very specifically what they say to do, and I think that just goes against the entire game. Visually, it's not impressive whatsoever, at least on PS5. There's like no textures in the game whatsoever. It looks, I guess, besides that, like there's characters, like in the beginning, there's more like cutscenes where you don't really control the character, and those look pretty okay, but it's like in-game. And then, I don't know, besides that, I would say there's really there's no cutscenes actually at all. It's more of that kind of animated. I don't even know what you would call it, right? Where it's like where the box cover of it. You know how they look on there. The other cutscenes explaining things are more done through there, so it's not like cinematic. And that's kind of the game. So I don't know. The more I talk about it, definitely the more I don't like it. At the time I'm recording this, I'm almost done. I mean, I got like 2 missions left, and I'm almost done with those. Again, because like there's missions, but then there's like 10 parts to each. Some missions are a little shorter than others, but say on average like 8 to 10 missions or parts to each mission. I got 2 left, and I got maybe 2 to do for one of them, and like 3. So I would say give me another 2 to 4 hours, and the game's beaten. And I'm already at hour 13, so I'm gonna beat it. I would say within 16, 17 hours. I would say I would beat this game. I mean, I bought it. It was on discounted for PlayStation Plus up until launch, so it was only $54 instead of $60. So I got it, $6 off. I don't know how much that's worth it to people, but I mean now it's full price, $60 for a game that just wasn't. And that's what's interesting. I keep saying it. Like, I didn't even think I'd like. I wouldn't say I didn't think I'd like it. I was skeptical because I never liked Dishonored. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like it. And what's just fun, I think also what's the most amazing thing out of all of this is playing this game. I'm disappointed for reasons I didn't even think I'd be disappointed in. You know what I mean? I thought the gameplay wouldn't work for me. I thought the trying to do different things to achieve different results wouldn't work for me. I thought that the looping would be kind of weird, and I actually think it's okay. It is kind of cool where it's like, well, certain things will only happen in the morning, so you have to go to that place in the morning. But then certain things will only happen at night. So, or say you wait till like the afternoon. Some things are only in the morning, so you've missed that. So now do other things for the rest of the time, but then you're gonna have to do that morning thing on the next loop. Like, that is a cool concept, you know what I mean? So those things actually weren't even, you know what I mean? They weren't even the issue. The issue was things that I didn't even think would be a problem, or I didn't think about in general, you know what I mean? Basically the fact that they handcuff you for the entire game, and the Juliana thing, which I really never thought too much of whatsoever. And then when you experience it, you're like, okay, like the first couple times it's like, it's cool. And I will say, when she invades you, there is a sense of like dread. There's a sense of being scared. And if that's what they were going for, they nailed it. And I do think there is, right? Where it's like every time it says like Juliana's on the hunt, I'm like, oh, shoot. Like I actually out loud to my wife, right? Christy's next to me. I'll say, she's here. Like, she's hunting me. Like, I gotta, so there is a sense of like, okay, I have to play things differently, or I have to handle things differently, or I have to be prepared now when she's there. So I will, like, there is that sense of urgency I will give them for that. But again, like, it ruins, like, she always comes at the worst possible, and there's no way of turning that off. So it's just, and even if it's the AI, and again, the AI isn't very difficult, not as difficult as a normal, or like, they're more difficult than a normal enemy, but they're not as difficult as an actual person playing, but they'll still ruin easily whatever you're up to. You know what I mean? If you're trying to sneak through, I mean, every single time, if it's not the mansion, there's this guy Charlie who has like an arcade. It's like a 4-story, literally like an arcade building, and it's got quite a few enemies as well. It probably has an estimate, probably 25 to 30 enemies easily. Okay, I'll be sneaking along. Once you get powers, there's different ways of handling things too. So I'm sneaking along. I'm going through windows, and all of a sudden, oh, there she is. She just ruins it. There. Oh, how'd you even get here? How'd you even know? Now, I haven't played as her. That's actually something I do want to do before I delete this game from my storage. Is I want to try one time to just invade somebody else's mode. I don't know if they like know where you are, or if there's like some sort of indication of where you are, or if they have to just find you in the map, but. Or maybe you can hear gunshot. Like, I don't actually know. But it's just funny that they always find you. Like, no matter what. Now, well, the AI is actually, like I said, a lot more stupid. There's been probably 3 or 4 times, because you're invaded constantly by these idiots. There's a couple times where I just really didn't want to deal with them. I was almost done with what I was doing. So I finished. I hacked the antenna, which would open up the tunnel so you can leave. Because again, when she comes in, you can't just walk out anymore. You have to actually do something first. So I would do that, and then I would just book it, run to the exit, and leave. So I would say probably 3 or 4 times I've escaped just by doing that and not actually taking her out. However, every single time a human, a real person has invaded, they always find me. There's just no way you're hiding from them. So, it's an interesting game on paper. I think some things work for it, but overall, I would say I feel like I wasted my money. Definitely would say that. I don't think I needed to spend $54 on this, and yet I did. Luckily, Kena or however you say that game's name, right? Bridge of Spirits comes out on Tuesday, and I'm getting that 100%, so I cannot wait to at least play something a little bit different. I don't know. The hook is there, and I do like the gameplay to a certain extent where it does make me kind of want to keep playing it, but everything else just really falls apart. And I guess the last thing I want to say, too, is what's one of the biggest things that came from all of this, too, is the gaming media, right? They gave it these just insanely high scores, and it's like if you want another reason to not trust them or not go by them, sure, sometimes they get things right, but also most times they don't, you know what I mean? Even you look at, and I don't want to get super, controversial with this, but like The Last of Us, Part 2, did that deserve a 93, 94, whatever that they were giving it? Probably not. And that created a big divide. Did it deserve like 5,000 Game of the Year awards? Absolutely not. But it did. It got them, and that makes people very upset. Same. Even like Ghost of Tsushima, like that didn't get the scores. I think it should have. I think it should have gotten higher. Deathloop is an 88. And again, now if you want to give it that, if you love the game, I never said that, but I guess I could say it now, right? If you like the game, I'm not saying you're not allowed to like it. That's not the kind of person I am. I'm someone who wants to tell you how I feel, and if you feel differently, that's absolutely cool. I have no problems with that, and I hope to keep you around. You know what I mean? I don't want you leaving. But so if you want to give Deathloop an 8.8 or a 9 or a 9.5 or a perfect 10, go ahead. But I don't think it deserves it. I don't think it is an 88 kind of game. I think it's more like a 70 or even lower kind of game. Is there kind of some sort of, and that goes maybe into the conspiracies of, or do they have to be nice to Bethesda? Do they have to be nice to PlayStation? Is there something out there like that? I've always believed there's an inkling, like there's a small amount of that, not necessarily widespread like everybody thinks, and maybe there is, and maybe it's just a different way, but that's the case. So pretty sure that's everything. Now, again, in a normal week, this would be where I would go into questions and comments. So right now, we're obviously not going to do that, but I'm pretty sure that is it for episode 1 of the Save Point podcast. So I want to thank you guys again so much for listening or watching or all that stuff. I really, really do appreciate it. Again, each week we're going to have a new episode, so next week we'll be back. I believe the next 2 weeks for sure. The week after that I think is DC Fandom, so there probably won't be the episode that Saturday. It'll probably be the Friday, but we'll talk about it as we get there. But that's going to be the plan. Again, I definitely want to hear topics. I definitely want to hear comments and questions, all that stuff, and we'll get rolling, as the weeks go on. Again, I think to start, it's going to be very open. If you have a cool topic that I like, whether you pay or not, or whether there's voting or not, or whatever, I'll probably choose it. You know what I mean? And again, I have my own thoughts, and I'll have my own, probably topics I want to choose, but same thing for questions and comments. But as we get going, like I said, $2 tier and $5 tier, you're more, $5 tiers, you're absolutely guaranteed to have your thoughts read, or if you have a topic, I'm really going to consider it. Same thing for $2, but just a little bit lower, and $2 and $5 tiers are able to vote on the topics, okay? So hopefully you guys got all that. You can always, find, again, in the description of all my YouTube videos, the link for Patreon, and then also the join button for YouTube memberships. They're the exact same thing. You don't have to pay twice. They're the exact same thing, just in 2 different spots, depending on where you feel comfortable, okay? Thank you for watching, guys. You all rock. Happy to be here. Happy to be doing this for you. I hope to see you all on episode 2.